Hi, welcome to The Vinyl Narrative. My name is Cam, and this is a brand new YouTube channel. I thought I'd jump in and join the vinyl community on YouTube. So it seems like a lot of fun, there's a lot of really good discussion, and I want to get amongst all of that. If you're kind of new or just stumbled across this channel, the kind of things I'm going to be talking about are albums that I collect on vinyl specifically. So I'll be talking about kind of forgotten gems, albums that I think are an absolute must within your collection. I'll be doing reviews of reissues and represses and upcoming releases. The kind of genres that I'll be covering are indie rock, dance music, bit of jazz, bit of modern pop rock, and a bit of soul music as well. So kind of a nice eclectic mix there. The only thing I probably won't cover too much is metal, because it's not really my bag, but I'm sure there's going to be something there for everyone. So I'm going to jump in straight into this video with talking about an album that is really dear to my heart, and it's probably one of my favourite albums of all time. It's definitely in the top 3, and that is Bloc Party's Silent Alarm. So what I'm going to do is cover the versions of this album that I have on vinyl. I've got versions of it on CD as well, because like I say, it's one of my favourites. I've got multiple versions of this album. I'm a bit sad like that, in that if I really like an album, I'll collect multiple versions of it to try and get that definitive edition, if you will. So first up, I'm going to talk about the first UK press that was released in 2005. And if you're not familiar with this record, I'm going to be talking a lot about it, getting into real nerdy detail. So if you don't know much about it, stop this video, go and listen to it, and then come back after that amazing experience you would have had. It's just an absolute indie rock classic with fused with kind of alt rock, a bit of dance influence in there as well. So if you're into bands like Gang of Four, Joy Division to some degree, and a few others in that kind of ilk, I think you're really going to enjoy this record. It just kind of set the indie scene alight in 2005 when it was released. Produced by Paul Epworth as well, who's just an absolute powerhouse of a producer. He's a huge name in the music industry these days, but back when he was working with Bloc Party, he'd only worked with a few bands to my knowledge, but he pretty much shaped that whole indie scene back in the early 2000s, working with bands like Bloc Party, the Future Heads, the Rapture, Maximo Park, and then he's gone on to work with the giants such as Adele, Florence and the Machine, another big one, Mumford & Sons. It's just, the list kind of goes on really. Amazing producer. But we're talking about this album that he worked on in 2005, or 2004, I believe they started recording it, and 2005 it was released. This is the first UK pressing. It's pressed on a single LP at 33 RPM. It was pressed by MPO in, I believe they're in France. I think that's the France plant that they have. It sounds really good to my ears. It's probably not the best. I think this album is probably squashed on one LP, if I'm honest. It's 25 minutes per side, and that's probably pushing it to the limits, but it still sounds really good. Not the best version in my opinion, but we'll come on to that later. These are quite hard to come by these days, and they're also, you know, as you can imagine, probably cost a fair bit. So if you're looking for the very first UK press, you're probably going to be parting with a fair chunk of change, unfortunately. But I'll probably cover, it might not be the best bang for your buck, and we'll go on to what I think might be that later on. So next up we have the kind of first US pressing, and this is slightly different. So this one was pressed by RTI, so mastered and pressed by them, and RTI, as you know, probably know, are quite a big name in the business in vinyl record pressing. I don't think I've had a bad record from them, to be honest. Sometimes you might get a slight warp, but you know, sonics wise, they're amazing. And this is no different really. This is slightly different to the UK press in that it is it's pressed on 2 LPs, cut at 33 RPM again, but across 2 LPs, and the album is all the better for it. This edition is actually a 3 LP edition, so the US pressing came with 3 LPs. So the first 2 were the actual regular album, the 13 tracks, but the third LP was like a remix EP, if you will, of 2 tracks specifically, so Positive Tension and Price of Gas. And those, if I look on the back here, because I always forget who remixed those tracks, Jason Clark from Pretty Girls Make Graves really remixed Positive Tension alongside Johnny Whitney on track 2. And then on the B-side, you've got Price of Gas being remixed by Automato. And then on the side B, track 2, you've got Just Ski. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I'm not. But yeah, this is to date probably my favourite edition of this album. Again, because it's a first pressing, it's quite hard to come by. I don't actually know how many of these were pressed. I've not been able to find that information out, but I think it was in quite low numbers. I'll be surprised if it was over 1,000 of these pressed. Certainly not in the 5,000 mark. So they cost a fair bit to pick up, especially mint. And this is a really nice clean copy that I picked up in 2006. I think I was lucky enough to find this. Shipped it across from America. But yeah, my favourite version of this album, the album's just got room to breathe, and the sonic quality of it is fantastic. The drums and the bass really kick through on this album, and that's a huge part of Bloc Party's sound, especially in the early days. The kind of drumming from Matt Tong was quite frantic and just incredible, really. His drum work's just fantastic, and then Gordon Mix's bass work is second to none as well, in my opinion. He did some great work on here, and then you've got of course the amazing guitar work of Kelly and Russell as well. All of that shines on this pressing, so if you stumble across this and you can afford to stump up the money to get it, go for it for sure, because they are quite rare. In terms of US pressings, that is the only time this album has been pressed in the US, which is quite strange because Bloc Party did manage to break America. So you'd think that the US label, which was Dim Mak, they would have probably pressed that into the heavens, but they didn't, strangely. The only other kind of, you could say it's a version of the album, if you will, that was pressed in the US is this, which is a Bloc Party Silent Alarm sampler, just with 6 tracks on it. It's released through Vice Records rather than Dim Mak. So the 6 tracks that are on here are Banquet, Pioneers, Like Eating Glass on side A, and then you've got Helicopter, Little Thoughts and Luno on side B. This sounds okay, it's just a sampler, it's just a promotional version of the album that would have been given to DJs and people in the music industry to consider. My copy is unfortunately a little bit beat up. I'd say this is kind of a VG copy, just a generic sleeve as well, nothing all too special. Sounds okay, it's just nice to kind of, as the collector in me wanted to pick this up just so I have it, but yeah. Not really worth stressing over. I don't know how many of those were put out, but I can't imagine it was too many. And then on to the next version of this album that came out. So it was a 5-year wait until this album was repressed on vinyl. Don't forget that obviously in the early 2000s, vinyl wasn't really on the up and coming. Labels weren't too interested in putting out vinyl copies of albums. It was very much focused on CD. And of course on the digital age as well. But yes, the next album was in 2010. They repressed this for the Wichita Recordings 10-year anniversary, I believe. So they released a bunch of their albums that were on their label and did kind of nice special editions of them. One of those was, of course, Silent Alarm. So they released this again on 1 LP, and this is actually a sealed version. I did used to have another play copy, but I sold it. 1 LP comes with a bonus kind of 7-inch single with Little Thoughts and Storm and Stress on it, which are 2 fantastic tracks. again produced by Paul Letworth, but mixed this time by Alan Moulder. So kind of slight change in direction for them there. And this version, not too much information about it in terms of pressing wise. I believe it was Electric Mastering that pressed this. They certainly mastered it. I can't find out who the engineer was. It's, from what I remember, this sounds pretty good. And if you are able to get a copy of this, I would definitely recommend it. It was then repressed again by Wichita. So this version was repressed, same plates, as you can see by the runouts, it's the same plates that they used. But this time they pressed it at optimal pressing plant. Optimal for me, if you read the discourse reviews, this will back this up, but they can be a bit hit and miss, to be honest. Sometimes it can be some of the best vinyl you have in your collection. Sometimes they'll be producing some of the noisiest. My version, mastering was decent because obviously it was the same plates as this, but it was okay. It was a little bit noisy in between the tracks. It was certainly noticeable. So I did end up selling that 2015 version of it and just kept my 2010. And I kept a sealed copy of it because that's what I'm like sometimes. After that, it starts to get a little bit rough in terms of pressing of this great album. Because I think it wasn't until 2018 that this record wasn't repressed. They decided Wichita still had the rights to Bloc Party's catalogue, and they asked Barry Grint, who's a well-respected mastering engineer in the UK, to cut the record. And I'm not really sure what happened with this, but I did pick up a copy, put it on, and it was pretty muddy, really heavy on the low end. Not much clarity in the drums and nothing really in the upper mids either at all. It was certainly not the higher frequency, so the guitar sounded quite poor. Not really sure what happened. You could potentially put it down to the pressing plant maybe. So it was pressed at GZ Media, and this is at a time, 2018, GZ Media aren't who they are today. Very ropey pressings, usually very generic cuts. Sometimes even CD masters put out and just pressed at GZ, and that's probably a combination of a disaster, to be honest. But I didn't like it, sold that version straight away. And then, unfortunately, it's not until last year, 2024, that the album was repressed again, using a different lacquer this time. Not sure of the mastering engineer, other than it says the initials JW in it. But unfortunately, it was Pious Recordings this time round in 2024 that re-released this album. They didn't learn the lessons from Wichita, and they used GZ Media again. And unfortunately, I've heard that the pressing is not anything to write home about, which is quite sad, really. Because you want to really showcase this album, especially if you're putting it out there for either new fans or just people who are looking to collect that album that weren't able to get it in the first few times round, because it's such a rare record now, on vinyl. So yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend the 2024 version. In my opinion, this album needs to be on 2LP, and luckily we are going to be getting that again, because Bloc Party themselves announced about a month ago, or a few weeks ago at least, at the time of recording, that they are going to be releasing a deluxe edition of Silent Alarm. And this is going to be a version that's spread across 2 LPs, which is great news for Bloc Party fans and just fans of that kind of indie scene from the early 2000s. It's just a must-have record, in my opinion. So what we're going to get is on the 26th of September this year, 2025, we are going to get a standard pressing of this album across 2 LPs. I believe it'll be cut at 33 RPM. There's not too many details about it, unfortunately. But you can pick that up for £30. Pre-order is up now on the Bloc Party website, and you have to pay £6.98 in the UK for postage. It'd probably be more if you're ordering from abroad, so the US or EU or anywhere, wherever you are. But more excitingly, they are releasing a box set edition of this album, which they're calling Silent Alarm Deluxe Edition. So what this is that's 2 LP edition, within a box set, alongside a B-sides and rarities two LPs, which is probably the thing that piqued my interest very much so about this record, because it's got a lot of stuff on there that hasn't been on vinyl before, and there's even stuff on there that I've not heard, and I'm pretty much a super fan of this band. This stuff has never been released before, which is fantastic to hear. So I'm quite excited about this, but I'll go through the specs as per the Bloc Party website. So it will come in a kind of special edition box, not too many details about that. It will include a 24-page booklet with a foreword by Paul Epworth, which should be quite interesting to read. Hopefully it'll go into a bit more detail in terms of the production methods he used on this record. It'll have never before seen photos as well as liner notes, and I'm hoping to have some stuff from members of the band written here. They don't say who's written the liner notes, but hopefully it'll be members of the band, or at least someone well respected enough within the music critic scene to write something about this album. And then the B-sides and rarities disc. So it's quite a long list actually of rarities and B-sides. Bloc Party, especially in the early days, had a lot of B-sides up until the kind of fourth album especially. So disc 1 is essentially this, which is the Bloc Party Little Thoughts EP. So what you get in this box set is this EP minus a few tracks from it. So you're getting Little Thoughts, Tulips, Storm and Stress, Helicopter and Skeleton. The only thing you're not getting is the 6th track on this album, which was released on vinyl, at least. It was released this year for Record Store Day, and I managed to pick up a copy. The 6th track that you won't get is the Tulips Minotaur Shock remix, which is a very good remix. Some people actually think this is a better version of the track Tulips itself. If you need to get it, try and hunt this down. It's a fantastic EP, but it won't be on the Silent Alarm Deluxe Edition, unfortunately. The other tracks that you will get are selections from the Bloc Party EP itself, which was the first EP that was put up by Bloc Party back in 2004. So what you'll get from this is, again, a few selections of these tracks. You'll get Staying Fat, She's Hearing Voices, The Marshalls Are Dead, and The Answer. 2 tracks that will be omitted. One's got a caveat because it technically is on the album, which is Banquet. That's already on the regular version of Silent Alarm anyway. But you won't get the Banquet Phones Disco Edit, which was a remix done by Paul Epworth, and it's a fantastic remix. If you haven't heard it and you like Banquet, you'll love that remix, I think. So yeah, those tracks will be on this definitive version, deluxe version. Might not necessarily be definitive. Other songs that you're going to get are 2 More Years, so that'll be the first time this track is on 12-inch vinyl, which is quite interesting. You'll also get The Present, which was a track from their charity album, Help, A Day in the Life, where a bunch of kind of well-known bands recorded tracks for that charity, which is a really good compilation, worth checking out. You'll also get Every Time Is the Last Time, the complete Peel session, which was the John Peel session that they did in 2005. And then probably the thing I'm most excited for is the demos, which is you're going to get a selection of nice demos. We're not really sure when they're from in terms of what period, but I'm sure we'll find out when the album comes out. Hopefully there'll be a bit more details in the liner notes or something. But you're going to get demos for This Modern Love, The Pioneers, So Here We Are, Helicopter, Price of Gas, and Skeleton. I had no idea that some of these demos existed. So things like Skeleton, Price of Gas, So Here We Are, I didn't know that those demos would have been out there. They've never surfaced. The only demo that we are getting that is out there currently, it was on YouTube for a few years, but also Bloc Party have just dropped it as a bit of a teaser for this deluxe edition of Silent Alarm, is Banquet. So there is a demo of Banquet out there to listen to. It's quite decent. Doesn't really match up to the finished studio album version, in my opinion, but hey, here we go. So you're going to get that, which is quite a lot of bang for your buck, or is it? Because this edition, you can have the standard 2LP edition, or you can buy the deluxe box set. The box set will set you back £115 plus £6.99 for postage. It's quite a lot of money. It's probably maybe a little bit on the expensive side, I'd say, for this kind of set. As there's not many specs about what you're getting in terms of the box, maybe the box is really all singing, all dancing. Who knows? It's quite expensive for me. A 4LP set probably would set you back most of the time like £90 or so, not this much, but I'm gonna get it. I have to have it. If it's going to be the definitive version of one of my favourite albums of all time, I've got to have it, I think. So I've gone for it, I've pre-ordered it, and in September I'll do a video for you guys just to kind of compare it against the editions that I have and do a bit of a shootout, so that should be interesting. Very excited about it. That's all I kind of have to sort of say about this album today, but what I want to know is what you think the definitive version of Silent Alarm is, if you're a big fan of this album like me, and also will you be picking up any of the new editions, either that standard 2LP edition or the box set? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully see you here again in the next few weeks. I'll be back with another video. But yeah, till then, take it easy and have a great one. Cheers.